Dawn breaks softly over the African savanna. The light is pale, almost fragile. At a distance, the land appears calm. But calm here is only a surface. Every morning begins with the same question. Who will eat? Who will be hunted? And who will still be alive by nightfall? A cloud of dust rises along the plain. It moves with purpose. It is a herd. Hundreds of Cape buffalo advance together. Their hooves strike the earth in heavy rhythm. Their breath steams and fades into the cool air. They move as one body. Dense muscle, thick hide. Horns fused into living armor. To most predators, a buffalo is danger. Injury waits behind every charge. But hunger brings lions anyway. In the grass, a lioness lowers herself to the ground. Her body disappears into shadow. Her eyes remain fixed on movement. She is not looking for strength. She is looking for error. A calf that lags. A moment of confusion. A break in formation. The herd senses her presence without seeing her. Heads lift. Bodies draw closer. This is the buffalo's defense, not speed. Not stealth, but unity. Inside the moving wall of bodies, a calf presses forward. It does not know fear yet, only motion and warmth. It has been born into pressure. Into a world where survival is immediate. Before it can understand the land, it must trust the herd. Before it can run alone, it must learn to stand together. Because on this savanna, even the beginning of life is a front line. The birth happens quickly. There is no shelter here. No hidden place to wait. The mother slows and steps aside from the moving herd. Her body tightens. Her breathing deepens. The calf enters the world in dust and open air. It lies still for a moment, legs folded beneath it. The ground is cold. The mother turns and nudges. There is no patience in the gesture. Only urgency. Every second on the ground is dangerous. Predators watch for weakness. Stillness invites attention. The calf tries to stand. It fails, then tries again. The mother shields it with her body. Other buffalo drift closer, closing the space. The calf rises at last, legs shaking but locked. This is its first success. It breathes deeply for the first time. Dust fills its lungs. Life moves fast here. Milk follows quickly. It is more than food. It is strength and speed. Within minutes, the herd moves on. There is no pause, no moment of safety. The calf must walk or be left behind. It presses against its mother's flank. Her shadow becomes protection. The herd closes around them again. Calves are drawn inward. Adults face outward. This is how the buffalo survive birth. Not alone. Never alone. The savanna accepts the calf without kindness. It allows it to live. For now. The herd is more than a group. It is a system. From outside, it looks crowded and chaotic. From within, it is ordered. Calves remain at the center, hidden by bodies and horns. Adults form the outer ring, facing outward. This structure needs no instruction. It is instinct passed down through generations. The calf learns it through pressure and movement. When danger rises, it is pulled inward. When the herd moves, it moves with it. Touch means safety here. Space means risk. The herd communicates without sound. A pause in grazing. A lift of heads. A shift in direction that travels instantly. The calf begins to feel these signals before understanding them. Tension moves faster than fear. Predators depend on surprise. The herd depends on awareness. When shapes move where they should not, the herd reacts. When the wind carries the wrong scent, bodies tighten. Sometimes the threat fades. Other times, it sharpens. The herd does not always flee. Often, it turns to face danger. This denies predators the chaos they need. Confidence becomes a weapon. The calf watches adults stand firm. Heads low. Horns ready. Days turn into weeks. The calf grows stronger. Its steps steady. But the center is temporary. No buffalo stays protected forever. One day, the calf will move outward. One day, it will help form the shield. For now, it follows. It learns. It survives. Because here, childhood is preparation. The calf's world slowly expands. At first, it knows only bodies and dust. Then grass. Then distance. Grazing becomes a daily lesson. Adults tear at the ground with practiced ease. The calf imitates, awkward and unsure. Its teeth are small. The grass is tough. Most of what it pulls free falls away. Milk still matters. But grazing is training. The savanna offers food unevenly. Green patches fade quickly to yellow. Movement becomes necessary. The herd follows paths worn by generations. Memory guides them more than sight. Water changes everything. Its scent carries far. Its promise draws danger close. The first visit to a waterhole is cautious. Adults stop and scan. The calf does not yet understand why. Waterholes force animals together. Predators know this well. The calf drinks quickly. Its mother shields one side. Another adult blocks the rear. The herd never stays long. Lingering invites attention. As months pass, absences appear. A familiar body is gone. The herd does not stop. Loss is absorbed into movement. The calf grows stronger. Its legs lengthen. Its pace matches the herd. One day, tension returns. Grazing halts at once. Heads rise. The smell of danger rides the wind. Adults tighten formation. The calf is pushed inward again. A lion steps into view. Then another. They do not charge. They watch. After long minutes, the lions sit back. The herd moves on. The calf learns that danger is not always sudden. Sometimes it waits and watches. The first chase begins with a break in rhythm. A half step out of time, a space where none should exist. The herd moves into open ground. The lions commit. They do not roar. They surge from cover without warning. Dust erupts as bodies collide with motion. Speed replaces silence. The calf runs because everything runs. Its legs move faster than before. Breath burns in its chest. This confusion is what the lions seek. A lioness cuts across the herd. Another accelerates from behind. The calf is pushed outward by the flow. Not far, but far enough. Its mother turns back sharply. She forces her way toward it. The herd begins to curve. Not away from danger, around the calf. The calf stumbles. Time stretches thin. A lion closes in. Then the charge comes. An adult buffalo surges forward, horns low. The lion veers aside. Others join the stand. The herd stops running. It turns. Dust hangs in the air. Horns emerge from it, advancing. The lions hesitate. Injury here is too likely. They retreat, watching. The herd regroups. The calf is pulled back into safety. No blood is spilled, but everything has changed. The calf has met the edge of survival. It will never forget it. Time passes, but memory remains. The calf remembers danger through tension, not images. Lions become a constant consideration. Not always seen, always expected. The herd meets them again and again. Each encounter adds detail. The calf learns patterns. Lions move most when light is low. Heat slows them at midday. The herd adapts. They travel farther in safer hours. They tighten near cover at dusk. Lions test without charging. They follow at a distance. They sit and watch. This is not hesitation. It is calculation. calf begins to understand why adults never fully relax, why heads lift often. A lioness appears one evening, close and still. Her eyes measure rather than threaten. The calf feels included in the choice. Lions hunt together, but decide alone. Each waits for advantage. The herd answers with discipline. When lions appear in numbers, the buffalo gather. When a single lion approaches, they stand firm. Sometimes the buffalo advance first. Short, controlled charges. Clear warnings. Most hunts end here, without pursuit. The calf grows stronger and faster. Its outline changes the odds. It is no longer an easy target. But it learns the hardest rule. All it takes is one moment of weakness. The lions will not hesitate. The calf is a calf no longer. Time thickens its body and steadies its movements. Muscle layers over bone. The neck widens. The head grows heavier. Small horns harden and begin to curve. They ache. They promise defense. The herd shifts the young buffalo outward, not away, into responsibility. On the edge, the world feels sharper. Wind arrives first. So does danger. The buffalo learns restraint. Not every shadow matters. Energy is saved for certainty. Confidence grows with size. So does duty. Young buffalo test each other briefly. Heads press. Balance matters more than force. These are rehearsals, not fights. Lions watch from farther away now. Their calculations change. This buffalo moves with control. It reacts quickly. One afternoon, lions appear suddenly. The herd does not run. Adults step forward. The young buffalo holds the line. Eyes meet. Distance collapses. Then the lions retreat. No contact, no chase. The buffalo exhales. Its body remembers the stance. Growth here is measured in moments faced without retreat. As the dry season deepens, pressure rises. Food thins. Water shrinks. This is when tests become real. The dry season sharpens every decision. Grass thins. Water holes contract. The herd approaches water slowly. They spread wide, then close ranks. The buffalo stands on the edge now, exposed, ready. Lions emerge one by one, a full pride, patient and deliberate. They fan out, testing space. The herd tightens. Calves are pushed inward. Horns lower together. A lioness darts forward, not to strike, to provoke. The buffalo lunges without thought. Hooves dig in, horns swing wide. The lion veers away. Another lion tries from the side. Then another. Each time, the line responds together. Short charges, controlled force, minutes stretch. Energy drains on both sides. A horn passes close enough to brush fur. That is enough. The lions withdraw. Not in panic, in agreement. The herd advances just far enough to seal the decision, then stops. Breath returns. Dust settles. The buffalo stands, exhausted but steady. It has not struck. This is victory here, not conquest, denial. The herd moves on, water taken. Danger left behind. The buffalo walks forward, changed. No longer only surviving. Now holding ground. The days that follow are quieter, not safer, more measured. The herd moves with tighter discipline. Spacing is deliberate. The buffalo feels the change immediately. Its body remains alert, even at rest. This is not fear. It is readiness. The savanna leaves no markers of victory. Only animals that move differently afterward. The buffalo now chooses its position. It angles outward by instinct. At water, it waits on the edge. This is where adults belong. Calves pass behind it, unsteady and small. The buffalo watches closely. Maturity here is not age. It is responsibility. The dry season lingers. Weakness appears in the herd. Lions notice and follow again. At a distance. Nothing dramatic happens. No chase. No charge. But the pressure never lifts. When rain finally comes, the land softens. Grass returns. Water spreads. The herd loosens slightly. The buffalo relaxes only a fraction. What it has learned cannot be lost. It has crossed the line from protected to protector, from counted to counting. The savanna never pauses. Neither does life upon it. The buffalo is fully grown now. Heavy. Certain. Its horns curve wide and solid. Its presence shifts the herd's shape. New calves appear at the center. Small, unsteady. A stumble ripples through the group. The buffalo steps outward without thought. It fills the gap. This is legacy here. Not memory. Position. Lions remain on the land. Sometimes seen, sometimes only sensed. The buffalo understands them now. Not as enemies, as forces. They sharpen the herd. They remove weakness. At sunset, the buffalo stands at the edge of the group. Light turns the grass gold. Shadows stretch long. The savanna looks peaceful again. It always does. The buffalo lowers its head and moves forward, not leading. Not following. Holding the line. Because survival here is not escape. It is endurance, and endurance belongs to the herd. Before sunrise, the world appears asleep. But here, the ground is awake. Steam rises from the earth like a slow exhale. It drifts through the shadows of pine trees. It curls across frozen grass. It turns the winter air into something you can almost feel. In Yellowstone, snow can fall for months. Rivers edge themselves with ice. Forests seem to hold their breath. Yet in pockets of warmth, the land refuses to freeze completely. A herd of bison moves through the fog. Their backs are dusted with snow. Their breath forms thick clouds in the cold air. They look ancient, as if they've stepped out of another age. In a place shaped by hidden fire, they move with quiet certainty. This is the first surprise of a volcanic world. not the eruption. Not the danger. But the attraction. Volcanoes do not only destroy, they create. They warm. They fertilize. They redraw the map. Life learns how to follow the benefits while avoiding the cost. In Yellowstone, the volcano sleeps beneath the surface. Its presence is revealed through geysers, through hot springs, through fumaroles, through invisible heat beneath a fragile crust. It is the kind of heat that keeps valleys open when everything else locks into ice. Elsewhere on Earth, that same force is louder. In Hawaii, fire still moves across the land. At night, lava glows like a living river. When it meets the ocean, the coastline smokes. New ground is being born in real time. Far to the north, in Iceland, fire and ice share the same sky. Glaciers rest beside black lava fields. Steam vents break through snowy plains. The world feels impossible until you realize it exists. So, how do animals survive here? In landscapes that can change overnight, where the air can carry poison, where water can boil, where the earth can split open without warning. The answer is not courage. It is strategy. Some follow warmth like a lifeline. Some track fresh growth rising from volcanic soil. Some raise their young on cliffs carved from basalt. Some have learned the oldest rule of living near fire. Pay attention. Move when you must. Never mistake stillness for safety. Over the next moments, we enter 3 volcanic realms. Yellowstone, Hawaii, Iceland. 3 places shaped by the same hidden engine. Three different ways the planet releases its heat. 3 stages where animals reveal something extraordinary. In the land of fire, survival is not about fighting nature. It is about reading it and finding life where most would expect only danger. Yellowstone does not announce itself with fire. It does not roar. It does not glow red against the night sky. Instead, it reveals its power in signals. Steam rises from the ground. A sharp scent of sulfur drifts briefly on the wind. Pools of water shine in impossible colors. Heat hums beneath the surface, constant and unseen. From above, Yellowstone looks alive. Dark forests stretch along winding valleys. Rivers cut through the land like veins. Scattered between them are bright scars of geothermal activity. Here, the volcano does not sleep. It whispers. Winter in Yellowstone is long and unforgiving. Snow can fall for months without pause. Temperatures drop far below freezing. Grass disappears beneath white weight. Movement slows across the entire ecosystem. For much of the landscape, winter becomes a locked door. But near geothermal zones, that door never fully closes. Snow thins around warm ground. Ice struggles to form. Narrow corridors stay open. These small advantages shape everything that follows. The first to arrive are often the largest. Bison emerge from the fog like moving monuments. Their massive shoulders push through drifting steam. Their fur traps warmth, dusted with frost. Each step is deliberate. Each breath turns to cloud. They are not here by accident. Warm ground means less snow to plow through. Less snow means less energy wasted. In winter, energy is life. A few exposed blades of grass can decide survival. Bison understand this instinctively. They follow warmth, not comfort. They are not alone. Elk gather in open valleys nearby. Tall bodies stand silhouetted against the white. Antlers rise like bare branches against the sky. They move slowly and carefully through the cold. Their migrations are shaped by memory. Generations have learned where the land stays open when winter tightens its grip. Where prey gathers, attention follows. At the edge of vision, movement flickers across the snow. A gray shape passes quietly, then another. Wolves appear. They do not rush. They observe. They wait. In Yellowstone, geothermal heat does more than warm the ground. It rearranges the hunt. It funnels herds into predictable spaces. It creates meeting points. It narrows choices. The land itself becomes part of the strategy. But Yellowstone carries a warning. The warmth that saves lives can also end them. In geothermal basins, thin crust can hide near boiling water. One wrong step can break through the surface. There are no second chances in that kind of heat. Animals learn the boundaries over time. They learn through experience. They learn through roots passed down from one season to the next. And sometimes they learn through loss. Living with a silent supervolcano means understanding its double nature. It means using its gifts. It means respecting its danger. Because in Yellowstone, fire does not chase you. It waits beneath your feet. As we leave this quiet world of steam and snow, the question sharpens. What happens in a place where the fire does not whisper? What happens where fire moves? Where it flows? Where it consumes? To find that answer, we travel to an island chain still being built by flame. We travel to Hawaii. In Hawaii, the volcano does not hide. It is visible, immediate, impossible to ignore. At night, lava glows like a living river. It moves slowly down the mountain's flank. Bright orange light cuts through the darkness. When the lava reaches the ocean, the coastline smokes. Here, land is not permanent. It is being created, day by day, meter by meter. In a world that still feels unfinished, life begins to take hold. Most animals do not live on lava. They live because of what lava creates after it cools. When fire retreats, it leaves stone behind. Black rock hardens and cracks. Rain, wind, and salt begin to break it apart. Time turns stone into soil. This soil is different. Volcanic soil is rich with minerals. It feeds sudden growth once life arrives. First come lichens, then moss, then hardy grasses anchoring themselves in tiny fractures. Insects arrive next, carried on the wind. Birds follow. Larger animals come later, guided by food and shelter. Along Hawaii's volcanic coast, basalt cliffs rise like walls. They appear harsh and unwelcoming. But for seabirds, they offer safety. Birds circle on strong ocean air. They land on narrow ledges carved into the rock. They nest beyond the reach of predators. They raise their young above the shifting shoreline. Here, lava becomes architecture. Fire shapes stone. Stone becomes shelter. Below the cliffs, the ocean tells a similar story. Black sand absorbs sunlight quickly. Shallow coastal water warms faster. These edges become resting places for marine life. Sea turtles pull themselves onto dark beaches. They lie motionless under the sun. Their shells hold warmth. Their bodies conserve energy. The scene feels calm. Until you remember how recently this land was fire. Hawaii offers opportunity, but it demands awareness. Volcanic gases can thicken the air. Ash can settle silently on leaves. A shift in wind can change everything. Animals here do not predict the future. They read the present. They respond to scent. They respond to heat. They respond to vibrations beneath the ground. They respond to distant sounds moving through stone. When fire advances, they retreat. When the land cools, they return. Life in Hawaii is not built on permanence. It is built on movement. It is built on flexibility. In volcanic worlds, this may be the most important survival skill of all. But there is one more realm to explore. A place where fire does not only meet water, a place where fire meets ice. Iceland. Iceland appears divided at first glance. One half is white with ice. The other half is black with stone. From the air, glaciers stretch across mountains like frozen rivers. They are heavy, silent, and ancient. Then the ground changes. Snow gives way to dark lava fields. Steam rises from cracks in the earth. The land itself seems to breathe. Here, fire and ice do not take turns. They exist together. This constant tension shapes one of the most unusual wildlife stages on Earth. Along the coast, cliffs rise sharply from the sea. Wind strikes them without pause. Cold waves pound the rock below. The environment feels hostile to anything fragile. Yet the cliffs are alive. Puffins arrive in dense colonies. Small bodies cut through strong winds. Bright beaks flash against dark stone. they vanish out to sea and return carrying fish. Then they do something unexpected. They dig. In many parts of Iceland, the ground is volcanic. Layers of ash and fragmented rock lie beneath the surface. Over centuries, fire has made the soil soft enough to carve. Puffins tunnel into this earth. They create hidden chambers. They build nests protected from wind and rain. A single egg waits safely underground while storms pass above. On land, puffins appear awkward and unsteady. In reality, they are precise engineers. Their homes are built from the remains of ancient eruptions. Move inland, and the landscape changes again. Green fields spread across black terrain. Life-colored ribbons cut through volcanic stone. Icelandic horses stand against the wind. They are short and powerful. Their manes whip sideways in constant motion. They graze on grass, nourished by mineral-rich volcanic soil. This is one of fire's quiet transformations. Ash becomes earth. Earth becomes food. Sheep scatter across hillsides nearby. They move carefully across uneven ground. Each step tests the land beneath them. Because in Iceland, solid ground is never guaranteed. Farther on, lava fields stretch to the horizon. Jagged black stone forms a frozen ocean of rock. Across it, moss spreads slowly. Soft green life settles over hardened scars. Time turns heat into memory. Memory becomes habitat. But Iceland also reminds us that silence is not safety. Volcanoes wake without warning. Ash can darken the sky. The landscape can change in hours. Animals have no forecasts. They rely on senses. They rely on instinct. When the world shifts, they shift with it. Yellowstone revealed warmth hidden beneath snow. Hawaii revealed land born from flowing lava. Iceland reveals survival between extremes. Fire and ice share the same ground here. Life survives by living in the space between them. But these three places are not separate stories. They are connected by a single pattern. A volcanic formula for life. Three places. Three volcanic worlds. Three different ways the planet releases heat. But when Yellowstone, Hawaii, and Iceland are placed side by side, one truth becomes clear. Animals do not defeat volcanoes. They do not conquer fire. They learn how to use what fire provides. They learn how to avoid what fire can take away. This survival equation usually begins with 3 gifts. The first gift is heat. In Yellowstone, heat rises quietly through the ground. It thins the snow. It weakens the ice. It keeps narrow corridors open when the rest of the landscape locks shut. In winter, that advantage is everything. Less snow means less energy wasted. Less energy wasted means more time alive. In Iceland, heat appears as warm fissures cutting through cold earth. Steam vents puncture frozen plains. Even small pockets of geothermal warmth can create refuge in a season that kills by endurance. In Hawaii, heat can be overwhelming, but it still shapes life in subtle ways. Black sand absorbs sunlight quickly. Shallow coastal water warms faster. Sheltered edges become places to rest and recover. Heat is danger, but it is also a resource. The second gift is minerals. Volcanic ash may look like dirt, but time turns it into rich soil. Iron feeds growth. Magnesium strengthens living tissue. Potassium helps plants surge. In Hawaii, lava hardens into black rock and then breaks down under rain, wind, and salt. Once pioneer plants take hold, growth can spread with surprising speed. In Iceland, green meadows rise from volcanic ground that has become natural fertilizer. That vegetation draws herbivores. Herbivores draw predators. A food chain can ignite from the leftovers of eruption. The third gift is terrain. Volcanoes do not only build land, they build structure. Basalt cliffs create nesting ledges. Lava fields create ridges and shelters. Ash layers create soil that can be carved into burrows and tunnels. Seabirds in Hawaii claim cliff walls. Puffins in Iceland dig into volcanic earth. In Yellowstone, geothermal openings reshape winter routes and concentrate wildlife movement. But the volcano formula is never only gifts. It always carries 3 costs. The first cost is toxic air. Sulfur gases can burn lungs and eyes. Carbon dioxide can pool low and silently suffocate. Invisible chemistry can turn a calm valley into a trap. Animals do not understand gases by name, but they recognize warning signs. They sense odors. They sense discomfort. They sense danger and move away. The second cost is lethal ground. In geothermal regions, beauty can hide risk. A thin crust can conceal near boiling water beneath it. One wrong step can end a life in seconds. Wildlife learns boundaries through experience. Sometimes it learns through loss. The third cost is sudden change. A new lava flow can erase a corridor. Ash can darken the sky and coat the land. Geothermal patterns can shift and reshape familiar routes over time. Volcanic worlds reward one trait more than any other: flexibility. Living near fire means accepting a hard fact. The landscape you know today may not exist tomorrow. The animals that last are the ones that read signals early. They move before the cost becomes final. Volcanoes are not only places where life is tested. They are places where Earth reminds us what it has always been. A planet in motion. A planet still forming. And life, if it wants to remain here, must keep learning how to move with it. If you stand still long enough in a volcanic world, you begin to notice something. Nothing is ever truly still. In Yellowstone, fire does not appear as flowing lava. It appears as a quiet breath beneath the snow. It appears as warm patches of ground in the heart of winter. It appears as hot springs that are beautiful and dangerous at the same time. That hidden warmth shapes invisible pathways across the land. Bison move through steam like ancient shadows. Elk follow open valleys to conserve energy. Predators read the same map from a distance, guided by the same rules. In Hawaii, fire becomes an artist rewriting the coastline. Lava advances slowly, but it never negotiates. It destroys, then pulls back. When the rock cools, life returns. Life returns not because it forgets what happened. Life returns because it understands that destruction often carries the seed of a beginning. In Iceland, the story grows even more complex. Ice covers fire. Fire fractures ice. Between these extremes, animals survive by finding opportunity in narrow spaces of stability. Puffins carve homes into volcanic earth to shelter from storms. horses and sheep graze on green fields nourished by minerals from ancient ash. Across black lava stone, soft moss spreads and turns scars into shelter. Three worlds follow one pattern. Volcanoes are not dead zones. They are engines of renewal. They create heat that can save life in winter. They create soil that can feed forests after disaster. They create cliffs and ridges that become nests, homes, and safe ground. But volcanoes also demand respect. Toxic air can drift without warning. Boiling water can hide beneath thin crust. The landscape can change overnight. So what is the most remarkable thing about animals that live alongside volcanoes? It is not that they are fearless. It is that they are attentive. They do not try to overpower the earth. They listen to it. They read the wind. They read scent. They read the warmth beneath their feet. They move when they must. In a modern world where humans seek stability, volcanic landscapes tell a different story. Life does not depend on certainty. Life depends on adaptation. Perhaps that is why some of the most dangerous places are also among the most beautiful. Because here, life appears in its rawest form. It is unprotected. It is unpromised. Yet it continues forward. Life continues between ice and fire. Life continues between ash and grass. Life continues between steam and snow. Life continues not in spite of volcanoes, but alongside them. Winter tightens its grip on Grand Teton National Park. Snow blankets the valleys. Ice seals the lakes. And silence settles across the mountains. For months, this landscape is locked in white. Temperatures plunge far below freezing. Food becomes scarce. Movement becomes costly. From the highest peaks, storms roll in without warning. Moisture carried from distant oceans collides with stone and sky. Snow falls not in inches, but in feet. Season after season, it piles up, reshaping the land. In winter, survival here is not about speed. It is about knowledge. Knowing where warmth lingers. knowing where water still moves beneath the ice. Because in a frozen world, flowing water means life. The Snake River cuts a dark ribbon through the snow. Its current resists the cold, carving openings where ice cannot hold. These narrow veins become lifelines. Where water remains open, fish endure. And where fish endure, hunters gather. Above the riverbanks, tracks crisscross the snow. Each one tells a story of hunger, patience, and risk. Not all who search will find enough. Mistakes are unforgiving here. A missed opportunity can mean another day without food. Another night burning precious energy just to stay warm. Yet life does not retreat. It adapts. It waits. It learns. As winter deepens its hold on the Tetons, the rules of survival are set. Those who understand this frozen landscape will endure. Those who do not will fade into the snow. And beneath the ice, the river keeps moving. Winter reduces Grand Teton National Park to a narrow margin between survival and exhaustion. Most of the landscape is frozen solid. Lakes are sealed beneath thick ice. Wetlands fall silent. Only the Snake River resists. Its current keeps sections of water open even in the coldest months. Dark channels cut through the snow, absorbing sunlight, releasing heat. For wildlife, these openings are everything. Perched low along the riverbank, a small bird watches the current. The American dipper. Compact. Unassuming. Perfectly built for a life few others can endure. While most birds flee south, the dipper stays. It steps directly into icy water, then disappears beneath the surface. Underwater, it walks against the current, gripping stones with powerful feet. Insects cling to the riverbed, slowed by the cold. The dipper picks them off, one by one. Every dive is a gamble. Cold drains heat fast. Time underwater is limited. But precision keeps the bird alive. Above the river, steam rises where warm water meets frozen air. It marks a rare place where winter loosens its grip. Farther downstream, the river supports a much larger visitor. A moose moves cautiously through deep snow. Each step costs energy. Her long legs break trails through drifts that would stop most animals cold. She wades into the shallows, lowering her massive head beneath the surface. Aquatic plants remain accessible here, preserved by flowing water. They provide vital nutrients at a time when land offers almost nothing. The moose lingers, feeding slowly. Her bulk insulates her from the cold, but not from hunger. Winter is a long test of endurance. Along the riverbanks, signs of life accumulate. Tracks overlap. Paths cross and recross the snow. Predators, scavengers, survivors. Where water flows, opportunity concentrates. And with opportunity comes competition. Above the river, silhouettes appear against pale winter skies. Dark shapes waiting, watching, measuring timing rather than strength. The Snake River does more than feed those who depend on it. It draws them together. In winter, Grand Teton is not evenly wild. It is uneven, patchy, defined by narrow corridors where life still moves. Those who understand this geography, where ice breaks, where currents persist, where food remains reachable, gain an edge. Here, survival is not random. It is earned. And as winter settles deeper into the Tetons, the river quietly gathers those willing to take the risk. Where the Snake River remains open, winter concentrates life. And where life gathers, hunters follow. Along the frozen banks, a familiar silhouette dominates the winter sky. The bald eagle. In the Tetons, winter pushes these birds toward moving water. Here, fish are easier to locate. And energy can still be gained without long pursuit. Eagles spend hours watching from exposed trees near the river. They wait. They observe. They conserve strength. In a season defined by scarcity, patience becomes a survival strategy. But the eagle is rarely alone. Nearby, dark shapes gather in the snow-dusted branches. Common ravens. They are drawn not to the river itself, but to opportunity. Ravens do not rely on strength. They rely on awareness. They watch where eagles feed. They remember where food appears. When an eagle succeeds, others arrive quickly. Winter allows no privacy. Any source of food attracts attention. This quiet competition plays out across the river corridor. Predators secure meals. Scavengers search for what remains. Energy moves through the system, passed from one animal to another. Nothing here is wasted. The Snake River functions as more than a water source. It becomes a meeting place, a narrow stage where winter survival is negotiated daily. Some species dominate through power. Others succeed through intelligence and timing. Both depend on the same fragile openings in the ice. In Grand Teton, winter favors flexibility. Animals that can adjust their behavior endure. Those that cannot are pushed aside. Above the river, eagles continue their watch. Around them, ravens linger, alert and attentive. Together, they reveal an important truth of winter life in the Tetons. Survival is not about abundance. It is about being ready when opportunity briefly appears. As winter begins to loosen its hold on Grand Teton National Park, the landscape does not thaw evenly. Snow still dominates the valleys. Cold lingers in the shadows. Spring arrives slowly and unevenly. For many animals, this is the most dangerous time of year. Food is still scarce. Energy reserves are low. And the margin for error is thin. Across the open plains, a bison cow moves steadily through patchy snow. At her side, a young calf struggles to keep pace. The calf was born only weeks earlier, during the depths of winter. Its legs are unsteady, its understanding of the world incomplete. The mother leads without hesitation. She has crossed this landscape before. She knows where snow thins first, where wind exposes dry ground, where early grasses begin to emerge beneath the melt. Winter has taken its toll. Months of cold and limited food have reduced her strength. But stopping is not an option. For the calf, every step is a lesson. Stay close. Follow the path already broken. Move when the herd moves. The plains appear open and forgiving. But spring in the Tetons is unpredictable. A calm morning can shift suddenly into wind and snow. Storms return without warning. Visibility drops. Landmarks disappear. And distance becomes hard to judge. In these moments, separation becomes the greatest threat. A calf that falls behind may not find its way back. Cold drains heat quickly from a small body, and without its mother, survival is unlikely. The herd provides protection. Adults surround the young, forming a moving barrier against exposure. Their size and numbers deter most threats. But weather respects no strength. The bison cow presses forward, guided by memory rather than sight. She has learned this timing over years. Not too early. Not too late. Arrive before the best forage is gone. But not before the storms have fully passed. As snow retreats, patches of exposed grass appear. They are thin, but rich. Enough to restore strength slowly. The calf feeds, awkward and eager. Each mouthful builds resilience. Each day improves its chances. Across the plains, other herds make the same calculation. Move now and risk the cold. Wait too long and risk starvation. Spring is not a season of relief. It is a season of decisions. For the bison of Grand Teton, survival depends on experience passed from one generation to the next. Routes remembered. Timing refined. Mistakes avoided when possible. As the snow continues to withdraw, life begins to expand outward once more. But the lessons of winter remain close. Those who endure this transition carry forward not just strength, but knowledge. As temperatures rise across Grand Teton National Park, the mountains begin to change. Snow softens, ice fractures, and gravity takes over. What accumulated over months now starts to move. Meltwater spills from slopes and gullies, gathering into streams. Small trickles merge into creeks. Creeks feed rivers. And the Snake River swells once more. This release is not sudden. It unfolds in stages, controlled by shade, elevation, and lingering cold. North-facing slopes hold snow longer. High ridgelines melt last. This timing matters. As water spreads outward, it reshapes the park from the ground up. Floodplains rehydrate. Wetlands refill. Nutrients locked in winter are carried downstream. Along the riverbanks, dormant ground awakens. Soils soften. Plants respond. Early growth follows the water's edge, tracing its path across the valley. With water comes opportunity. Aquatic insects multiply. Vegetation thickens. And animals follow the expanding green. Some reshape the flow itself. Beavers return to work along quiet channels, reinforcing dams built seasons earlier. Their structures slow the current, creating calm pools and flooded margins. These changes extend the reach of meltwater, holding it longer into summer. The result is a patchwork of habitats. Fast water. Still water. Marsh. Meadow. Each supports a different form of life. The melt also cleanses. Spring runoff flushes sediments from riverbeds. Gravel shifts. Channels reorganize. Conditions improve for species that depend on clear, oxygen-rich water. Far downstream, the effects of mountain snow are still felt. Every drop released now will shape the months ahead. A deep snowpack means longer flow. A slow melt means stability. In Grand Teton, water connects everything. From the highest peaks to the lowest plains. From winter's grip to summer's abundance. This is the engine that drives the year forward. Not fire, not wind, but water, released at the right time, in the right amount. As spring advances, the park widens again. Life spreads beyond the narrow river corridors of winter. New spaces open. New strategies emerge. And high above the valley floor, another race begins. Where time is even shorter, and preparation is everything. High above the valley floor of Grand Teton National Park, summer arrives late and leaves early. Here, snow retreats last. And time is the most limited resource of all. As alpine slopes finally open, life emerges quickly. Wildflowers bloom in brief bursts. Grasses surge, fueled by meltwater released from above. The season moves fast. Among the rocks and meadows, yellow-bellied marmots appear. They are built for this narrow window. Stocky, alert, always active. Unlike animals that search for food year-round, marmots face a single goal: eat, and keep eating. Summer in the alpine zone is about accumulation. Every mouthful adds fat. Every clear day counts. Marmots feed across open slopes, moving between patches of vegetation. They pause often, standing upright to scan their surroundings. This landscape offers little cover. Awareness is essential. When danger approaches, warnings travel fast. A sharp call echoes across the rocks. Others respond immediately, retreating towards safety. This loose cooperation allows each individual to focus on feeding longer. Time saved means energy gained. The alpine environment is unforgiving. Temperatures swing rapidly. Storms build without warning. Even in midsummer, snow can return overnight. Marmots continue feeding whenever conditions allow. They cannot afford delay. Soon, this abundance will vanish. As weeks pass, the signs of change begin to appear. Flowers fade. Grasses toughen. The pace slows. By late summer, marmots reach their peak condition. They have done what the season allows. What comes next is out of their control. Soon, they will retreat underground, sheltered from cold, isolated from the surface world. Their survival through the long winter ahead depends entirely on what they gained here. During a summer that lasted only a moment. Across the Tetons, this pattern repeats. At every elevation, life adjusts to the clock set by snow and melt. As the alpine zone begins to quiet once more, attention shifts downslope, where another seasonal drama is about to unfold. As summer fades in Grand Teton National Park, the landscape shifts again. Days shorten. Nights cool. And a new urgency takes hold. Across open meadows and forest edges, elk gather. What has been a season of feeding becomes a season of display. For most of the year, bulls live quietly, conserving energy. Now they step into the open, their antlers fully grown, their bodies hardened by months of grazing. Autumn marks the rut. The air fills with sound. Deep, echoing calls roll across the valleys. Each one announces presence. Each one challenges rivals nearby. These calls are not random. They carry information, size, confidence, condition. Cows listen closely. They move deliberately, assessing the voices around them. Their choice will determine the next generation. For the bulls, reputation matters. A strong call can deter rivals without a fight. A weak one invites challenge. Posturing escalates quickly. Bulls parallel each other, walking stiff-legged. Heads held high. Antlers displayed broad and symmetrical. Most confrontations end here. Energy is precious. Injury is costly. But when rivals are evenly matched, tension builds. Distance closes. Antlers meet. The clashes are brief and forceful. Strength is tested. Balance matters. The weaker bull yields, retreating to the edges. Victors hold ground. They keep calling. They maintain access to females who remain nearby. For a short window, dominance determines success. This opportunity lasts only days. Then it is gone. Throughout the rut, bulls eat little. Their focus shifts entirely to breeding. Fat reserves accumulated during summer are spent quickly. Cows, meanwhile, remain practical. They continue feeding when possible. They move toward areas offering both food and protection. As autumn advances, the urgency peaks. Calls grow hoarser. Movements slow. Energy wanes. Eventually, the sounds begin to fade. The rut passes. Winners disperse. Losers withdraw. And the herds reorganize once more. What remains is unseen. Pregnancies established. Futures set in motion. Soon, the first storms of winter will arrive. Snow will erase the signs of these contests. But the consequences will carry forward into spring, into calving season, into the next cycle of survival. As the valleys quiet, the elk begin to prepare for another journey. One guided not by sound, but by snow. As autumn gives way to winter in Grand Teton National Park, the first snows return to the valley floor. They fall lightly at first, then more steadily. For the elk, this is a signal. With the rut complete, priorities shift again. Energy must be conserved. Movement must be purposeful. The herds begin to reorganize. Cows take the lead, guiding the group with practiced certainty. Many have made this journey every year of their lives. Snow covers the grasses that sustained them through summer and fall. Each day, reaching food becomes harder. Staying is no longer an option. The elk begin to move south, following routes shaped by generations before them. Paths worn not into the ground, but into memory. River crossings slow the journey. Cold water presses against tired legs. But the flow is gentler now than in spring. Meltwater has long since passed. The herd moves together. Calves stay close, protected by numbers and experience. Each successful crossing builds confidence for those making the journey for the first time. This migration is not sudden. It unfolds over days and weeks, responding to snowfall, temperature, and forage availability. Timing is critical. Leave too early and energy is wasted. Leave too late and snow becomes impassable. As the elk depart, the park begins to empty. Pressure on the land eases. Vegetation is given time to recover. This pause is part of the system. Grand Teton depends on both presence and absence. For thousands of years, people followed similar patterns, leaving these valleys during winter, returning when conditions allowed. Movement ensured survival. Now, as the elk disappear into lower elevations, the Tetons prepare once more for isolation. The land grows quieter, colder, but not lifeless. Those who remain have already adjusted their strategies. They know what is coming. And as winter tightens its grip again, the final chapter of the cycle begins. Winter returns to Grand Teton National Park without hesitation. Snow settles once more across the valleys. Ice reforms along the edges of lakes and wetlands. The land closes in. But the cycle does not reset completely. It continues. The Snake River still moves beneath the cold air. Dark channels remain where water resists freezing. These narrow openings will again become lifelines. Animals that stayed have already adapted. They conserve energy. They follow familiar routes. They return to places that offered survival before. Above the river, watchful shapes appear once more against winter skies. Along the banks, tracks etch fresh stories into new snow. What remains is not chance, but memory. Across seasons, survival in the Tetons is guided by experience, by timing learned over years, by behaviors refined through repetition. Young animals carry lessons gained earlier in the year. Where to move, when to wait, when to leave. Some individuals will not see another spring. Others will endure many winters still to come. The land itself holds no favorites. It offers opportunity, then withdraws it. And yet, life persists. As Grand Teton settles into 6 long months of cold, knowledge becomes the most valuable resource of all, passed quietly from one season to the next, from one generation to another. Beneath the snow, the river keeps flowing. And when winter loosens its grip again, the cycle will begin once more. In some places on Earth, rain is just weather. In Choco Darien, rain is a force. It doesn't simply fall. It lays a rhythm over everything. Steady, relentless, almost never truly gone. Along Colombia's Pacific coast, stretching north into Panama's Darien, lies a rainforest often described as one of the wettest on the planet. In some areas, average annual rainfall reaches an extreme range, about 8,000 to 13,000 millimeters a year. And when water becomes the law of the land, life adapts on its own terms. Plants don't just grow here. They interlock. They stack. They build a vast green city, layered like architecture. Up high, light doesn't pour in. It fractures. Thin shards of brightness, just enough to feed an entire world, suspended in the canopy. Midway down, vines, moss, and humidity form a living maze. And on the forest floor, the air is heavy. The ground is soft. And every sound seems swallowed by leaf litter, until only water remains. But what makes Choco Darien truly extraordinary isn't only abundance, it's uniqueness. This region belongs to a global biodiversity hotspot, famous for endemism, especially among birds. Nearly 900 bird species live across these forests, and many are found nowhere else on Earth. They're like chapters written into a single book. Lose them here, and there is no second printing. And like any treasure, it can vanish without a loud moment. Not all at once, but in small cuts, repeated, until the green tapestry is no longer whole. Today, we step into the place where rain never stops. To understand how rain becomes life, and how, if we're not careful, we may be the ones to make it go quiet. From a distance, Choco Darien doesn't look like a neat, self-contained block of green. It looks like a ribbon. A long, narrow band pressed against the Pacific edge of Colombia, then running north into Panama, into the wild hinge of the Darien. On one side is the ocean, warm, restless, constantly evaporating. On the other side, the land rises. Mountains, high ground. And in that squeeze between sea and elevation, climate becomes trapped. Moist winds push in off the Pacific. They meet the land. They're forced upward. Air cools as it climbs. And the water it's carrying can't stay suspended forever. So it falls, not as a single season, neatly marked on a calendar, but as a repeating system, day after day. sea to sky, sky to mountain, mountain to forest. In some places, the numbers are almost hard to imagine. Rainfall totals so high, they stop sounding like weather and start sounding like geography. Because once water arrives in that volume, it doesn't just feed the forest. It organizes it. Rivers here aren't just rivers. They're highways. They carry sediment, nutrients, seeds, and chants. A fruit drops. A current takes it. A sandbar catches it. And somewhere downstream, life begins again in a new patch of light. In the low places, the story slows. Water pools. The ground turns soft. Swamps form. Floodplains breathe in and out with the rain, holding water when the sky won't stop giving it. Closer to the coast, the forest changes again. Salt begins to creep in with the tide. And mangroves rise to meet it. Roots like living scaffolding, gripping mud, filtering water, breaking waves, building shelter where the land and sea overlap. This is why Choco Darien isn't just a rainforest. It's many rainforests stacked side by side. Coast, swamp, mangrove, lowland, highland, different worlds pressed together in a single corridor. And in the north, that corridor becomes something even bigger than a landscape. It becomes a bridge, a place where the Americas narrow, where ecosystems meet, where over deep time, life has moved, mixed, separated, and evolved into something new. But there's a trade-off. A ribbon of forest can act like a lifeline, and it can also act like a weak point. Because when a forest depends on connection, on continuous canopy, on intact river systems, on corridors that let animals move, then fragmentation isn't a small change. It's a structural one. In the next chapter, we step inside that structure, into the vertical world of the rainforest. From the bright canopy above, down to the dark, wet floor below. If rain is the soundtrack of Choco Darien, then life is the chorus, never sung the same way twice. Because here, nature isn't only rich, it's original. This rainforest sits in a part of the world known for extreme biodiversity and endemism. Not just because there are many species, but because so many belong to this place alone. Life here has had time. And it has had space, small pockets of isolation. Different elevations, shifting wetlands, coastlines, and mountains to experiment. But the rainforest's greatest secret isn't always spread across the map. Sometimes it rises straight up. A rainforest has height. And in Choco Darien, water and warmth have turned that height into stacked worlds, layered one above the other. At the top is the canopy, a second sky made of leaves. Light doesn't flood down here. It breaks apart. It filters through in thin beams and scattered fragments, feeding a community that lives almost entirely above the ground. This is where growth is ambition. Trees climb toward the sun. Vines bridge gaps like living ropes. And plants that don't need soil, mosses, orchids, epiphytes, cling to branches and trunks, drinking moisture straight from the air. In a place where rain falls constantly, you might think holding water is pointless. But that's the trick. Water isn't just something to drink. It's a shelter, a nursery, a small world contained in a leaf's curve, where tiny lives can begin without ever touching the forest floor. And then there are the sounds. Sharp calls, quick wing beats, movements that flash and disappear before your eyes catch up. In a forest this dense, birds are more than wildlife. They're a signature. They stitch the canopy together with motion and music, turning the treetops into a living map of territory. Courtship, warning, and belonging. Drop lower, and the story changes. The mid-level forest is a realm of shade and secrecy. Here, survival doesn't always belong to the fastest. It belongs to the quiet, to the hidden, to the ones that can become leaf, bark, shadow, anything except themselves. Leaves widen, vines thicken. Humidity becomes a presence, like a second skin. And green, endless green, turns into the perfect camouflage. Sometimes, color does the opposite. A small creature, bright as a warning sign, sits still on a wet leaf. In this world, bold colors can mean one thing: don't touch. In places defined by water and constant moisture, amphibians often thrive. Because for them, humidity isn't comfort. It's survival. It's the thin line between living skin and drying out. And then, down at the bottom, the rainforest becomes heavier, darker, softer. The air is thick, light is scarce, and the ground covered in fallen leaves, absorbs sound like fabric. Here, the forest revealed something people often forget when they imagine paradise. Paradise runs on decay. The forest floor is a recycling plant. Leaves fall. Branches snap. Fruit drops and bruises into the soil. And life doesn't end. It transforms. Fungi rise in sudden shapes. Insects move in invisible currents. And the nutrients released from death feed the roots that will push new growth upward, back toward the light. This is not a collection of beautiful scenes. It's a system. This forest doesn't just hold biodiversity. It connects it. It mixes it. It allows movement of genes, of species, of entire histories of survival. And that's why continuity matters here. Because a rainforest, this complex depends on connection, on corridors, on intact rivers, on the ability to move when conditions change. In the next chapter, we follow the veins of this place, the waterways, the swamps, the mangroves. Because in Choco Darien, water isn't just part of the scenery. It's the road everything travels on. In Choco Darien, you don't simply enter a forest. You enter a world drawn in water. From above, the canopy can look seamless. One unbroken sea of green. But move closer, and you start to see the lines that hold it together. Rivers, streams, floodplains, dark wetlands, and estuaries where fresh water meets salt. And the story changes flavor. Here, rain doesn't just nourish the forest. It designs it. When water falls in relentless volume, the land can't keep it all. It has to move it. It has to make channels. And once channels exist, life begins to follow them. A river is not only flow, it's transport. It carries sediment that rebuilds banks, nutrients that feed the smallest organisms, seeds that drift, spin, and lodge in new places, waiting for a crack of sunlight. A piece of fruit drops into the current. The current takes it. A bend in the river slows it down. And somewhere downstream, a new tree gets its chance. In rainforests, it's easy to believe everything depends on trees. But just as often, everything depends on timing, on when the water rises and when it retreats. When rivers swell, the forest expands outward, turning land into temporary water world. When the water drops, it leaves behind wet soil and a thin layer of nourishment. Fresh resources for insects, plants, and the chain that follows. In the low-lying places, water doesn't hurry. It spreads. It pools. It becomes swamp and floodplain. Land that asks every creature to slow down, to adapt, to find ways of living with saturation. And then, nearer the coast, the rules change again. Salt begins to arrive with the tide. The forest answers with mangroves, roots rising like scaffolding, gripping mud, filtering water, and breaking the energy of waves. Mangroves aren't just trees standing in water. They're a boundary system, a buffer between ocean and land, a living filter, a nursery. They hold sediment in place. They trap nutrients. They create shelter where young fish and small animals can hide until they're big enough to face open water. This is why Choco Darien isn't simply rainforest. It's rainforest built around waterworks. A landscape where rivers do more than run through the sea. They run the sea. And that makes the story unusually easy to tell with stock footage, because the structure shows itself. Rain threading through leaves. A swollen, fast river. A slow, dark swamp. Roots in brackish water. Mist hovering over a wetland at dawn. You don't have to name a species to make the audience understand. You just have to show the system, because the system explains the miracle. But systems like this have a weakness. When a rainforest runs on water, it becomes vulnerable to anything that disrupts flow. A cleared hillside upstream. A road cut into wet ground. A riverbank opened and scraped. A patch of forest removed at the wrong point in the network. Water will carry the consequences far beyond where the damage began. And that is where Choco Darien's story turns heavier. Because the same landscape that makes life explode here also makes this forest sensitive to cuts that spread. Next, we step into the human pressure points. The edges, the clearings, the lines on the horizon that shouldn't be there. A new gap on the horizon. A brown scar where green used to be. A riverbank widened just a little more. A straight line where no straight line belongs. And the forest still looks like forest, but it no longer behaves like one whole. Choco Darien is often described as a place of enormous natural wealth. But it's also a place where that wealth can be stripped quietly, piece by piece, until the system begins to weaken from within. Because when rainforest is broken into fragments, the loss isn't only trees, it's connection. Corridors vanish, movement becomes harder. Populations grow isolated. Recovery slows after storms and floods. And a forest that once acted like a single organism becomes a patchwork, less resilient, more vulnerable to the next shock. The pressures that drive this are familiar across the tropics. Timber extraction, Land cleared for agriculture. Resource exploitation that opens roads and access deeper into the green. Each one, on its own, removes trees. But together, they do something bigger. They change the forest's relationship with water. When canopy is removed, rain hits the ground harder. Runoff accelerates. Soil erodes. Rivers turn cloudier. Sediment builds where it shouldn't. And habitats that rely on stable water and clean flow begin to take damage, sometimes far downstream from the first clearing. This matters especially in a place like Darien, a forest that sits at the narrow hinge of the Americas, where continuity is the difference between a living corridor and a broken bridge. And here, threats don't always arrive one at a time. In landscapes under pressure, one disturbance invites another. A small opening becomes a route. A route becomes access. Access becomes expansion. And soon, change spreads faster than the forest can regenerate. Illegal extraction is often part of that pattern. So is unregulated settlement along edges. And in some areas, gold mining has become one of the most damaging forces, not only because it clears land, but because it can transform waterways and muddy the very arteries the forest depends on. The frightening part is how ordinary it can look. Not a dramatic collapse, just accumulation. A narrow road this month. A new clearing next month. A widened riverbank after that. And then, without anyone noticing in the moment, the green fabric loses its strength. For wildlife, fragmentation turns daily life into risk. Animals that once moved through continuous forest are pushed closer to edges. They cross open ground. They encounter people. They lose access to food and mates. And for the forest itself, edges are danger zones. Edges are hotter, drier, windier, more prone to fire in unusual dry spells, more exposed to invasive species, more vulnerable to the kind of slow unraveling that doesn't make headlines, but changes everything. The tragedy is that this doesn't just threaten what's common. It threatens what's rare. Endemic life doesn't have a backup location. A species found only in this corridor can't simply relocate when its habitat is cut apart. It doesn't have another forest to move to. So the real stakes of Choco Darien aren't only about saving trees. They're about protecting a one-of-one system. But the story doesn't stop at warning. Because even here, under pressure, there are places built to hold. Protected areas, rangers, scientists, community stewardship, monitoring from the ground and from above. not miracles. Infrastructure. Green fortresses, quiet, persistent, designed to give the rainforest what it needs most: time. Next, we step into those strongholds and into the question that decides the ending. Can the forest stay connected long enough to keep turning rain into life? What saves a rainforest is rarely one grand act. More often, it's a chain of small decisions, repeated, protected, enforced, long enough for nature to do what it does best. In Choco Darien, those decisions take shape as strongholds. Protected areas with boundaries on maps, but more importantly, with presence on the ground. In Panama, Darien National Park is one of the great anchors of this corridor. Not just because it's large, but because it holds an extraordinary range of habitats. Coastline, mangroves, wetlands, lowland rainforest, and higher forested slopes. That matters, because diversity of habitat is a form of resilience. When conditions shift, a system with more options has more ways to absorb stress without breaking. And there's another reason these strongholds matter. Darien sits at a biological crossroads where ecosystems, species, and histories of survival meet at the narrow waist of the Americas. A place that functions as a living bridge. A bridge only works if it remains connected. South across the border in Colombia, protected areas like Los Catillos hold another vital piece of the same story. Part of the same green continuum, shaped by water, geography, and time. But no protected area, no matter how famous, can succeed in isolation. A rainforest is not an island. It's a network. It needs buffer zones, spaces that soften the impact of roads and farms. It needs corridors, stretches of forest that let animals move and plants spread. It needs connected watersheds, rivers that remain intact from source to sea. And it needs people who can live with the forest without being forced to destroy it to survive. Because conservation isn't only a fight against chainsaws. It's a fight for alternatives. On the ground, the work can look almost ordinary. A ranger patrol moving quietly through the trees. A small boat traveling upriver. A checkpoint on a dirt track. A camera trap fixed to a trunk, waiting all night for a single passing silhouette. A scientist collecting water samples. A drone lifting above the canopy. Satellite images compared month to month, watching for new scars in the green. None of it feels cinematic in the moment. But together, it creates something the forest desperately needs. Visibility. The most dangerous changes in a rainforest are the ones that happen unseen. In places this remote, illegal extraction and fragmentation can grow in the gaps between attention. Monitoring closes those gaps. Enforcement narrows the space where cutting can spread unchecked. And community stewardship can turn a forest from open territory into a living asset, one with guardians, rules, and accountability. Even then, the race isn't over. Because pressure doesn't always come from the forest itself. It comes from everything around it. Markets, infrastructure, migration, climate shifts that change rainfall patterns and push ecosystems beyond their usual limits. That's why modern conservation has to move beyond protecting a single park. It has to protect a landscape. It has to keep headwaters clean upstream. Keep corridors wide enough for movement. Keep mangroves and wetlands healthy enough to buffer floods and storms. Keep forest edges from turning into permanent front lines. And it has to do it fast enough, because the rainforest's greatest strength, slow, steady growth, also becomes its weakness in a world that changes quickly. Still, there is hope here. Not a guaranteed happy ending, but a real chance. A chance built on continuity, on intact systems, on connected green. If the core forests hold, if the corridors remain unbroken, if water continues to run clear enough to carry life downstream, then Choco Darien will keep doing what it has done for thousands of years. It will keep turning rain into living complexity. And when we return to that first image, rain falling through leaves, it becomes more than beauty. It becomes a heartbeat. One we can still choose not to slow down. In the end, Choco Darien is not a story about numbers. It's a story about rhythm. Rain falls again and again. So often it feels less like weather and more like the region's pulse. In some places, the totals climb into extremes. So much water each year that the forest seems built to catch it, slow it, and turn it into life. This corridor lies at the narrow hinge of the Americas, a place where continents meet, where ecosystems converge, where movement of species, of genes, of entire lineages has shaped the living world for ages. And once you see it that way, the stakes sharpen. Protected strongholds in this landscape don't simply preserve scenery. They preserve continuity. They hold together the threads that let a rainforest function as a single system, rather than as isolated fragments. Because rainforests don't live by borders drawn on paper. They live by what happens at the edges, where forest meets road, where forest meets pasture, where a clearing becomes a corridor for change. And that is why this place can vanish without a single dramatic moment. Not in one collapse, but in small cuts, repeated, until the green is no longer whole. Yet Choco Darien also carries a lesson that cuts the other way. Nature doesn't need us to exist. But we need nature to keep the world stable enough to live in. And in a rainforest ruled by water, that truth becomes unmistakable. If the forest remains, the rain keeps its purpose. It falls into leaves, runs into streams, feeds rivers, builds mangroves, nourishes the hidden worlds stacked from canopy to soil. But if the forest is silenced, then the rain still falls. Only now it falls into emptiness, into exposed ground, into systems that can no longer hold it. Choco Darien is a reminder that the richest places on Earth are not only beautiful, they are functional. They are living infrastructure, built by time, powered by rain, held together by connection. And the question that remains is simple. When the rain comes, because it will come, will there still be enough forest to receive it? Enough canopy to catch it? Enough roots to hold the soil? Enough connected green for life to keep crossing this bridge between continents? In the place where rain never stops, the ending is not written yet. It's being decided, quietly, piece by piece, right now. And that means something rare. It means we are still in time. Earth was once a mystery, until the day humans left the atmosphere. Only a few decades ago, we saw our planet for the first time as a whole. A living sphere suspended in darkness. From that distance, borders disappear. Nations fade. What remains is ocean and thin ribbons of coastline. Places where life gathers more densely than anywhere else on Earth. Since that first look back, the human population has surged. Demand for food has grown. Demand for energy has grown. Demand for space has grown. And the pressure on nature has grown with it. This film is not only about the beauty of the seas. It is a story about what still remains, and about what must be protected, so that people and nature can continue to thrive together. From space, the oceans dominate the surface of Earth. But the richest life is not found in the deep open sea. It lives along the edges, in the shallow waters that fringe the continents. These coastal seas make up less than 1/10 of the world's oceans. Yet most marine life depends on them. The reason is light. Here, sunlight reaches the seafloor. And where light reaches, plants can grow. Microscopic algae and seagrasses turn sunlight into energy. They form the foundation of the marine food web. From this base, life multiplies. And the shallow seas become the planet's primary fishing grounds. Beneath the surface, millions of tiny organisms are at work. They are performing one of the oldest processes on Earth, converting light into living matter. This energy feeds small fish, and those small fish feed larger ones, including the predators at the top. In productive coastal waters, abundance becomes visible. Shoals of fish move like living clouds, flashing silver beneath the sun. Individually, each fish is small, but together they form protection, a moving shield against attack. That concentration draws hunters. And when prey gathers in such numbers, hunting becomes efficient. Predators rise from below. Others arrive from the open sea. Some even work together. Across sandy bottoms and rocky reefs, coastal seas operate like a vast marketplace. Food appears in pulses, driven by seasons, by tides, and by currents. To survive here, predators must read the ocean, learning where and when life will gather. To understand why coastal seas matter so much, we must look closer into systems that often go unnoticed. A meadow beneath the waves, a forest growing in salt water, and a living city built by tiny animals. These are the three pillars of shallow seas: seagrass meadows, mangrove forests, and coral reefs. In warm, shallow tropical waters, the seafloor can be carpeted with seagrass. From above, it appears as a green blanket. Below the surface, it functions like a grassland, much like a savanna on land, supporting a wide variety of life. Small fish hide among the blades. Crustaceans move through the shadows. And predators arrive in search of opportunity. A dark shape glides low over the meadow. A stingray. It senses prey buried beneath the sand. One sweep of its wings sends sediment into the water, and a hidden animal is gone. But some hunters are even more sophisticated. Bottlenose dolphins, They do not rely on sight alone. They hunt by sound. Using echolocation, they send clicks through the water. The echoes return, forming an acoustic image, revealing the size, position, and movement of fish ahead. A shoal of mullet flees across the shallows. The dolphins follow, but they do not rush. They herd the fish carefully, steering them into the perfect position. Then one dolphin circles tightly, beating its tail against the seabed, stirring up a ring of mud. The fish panic. Trapped by the wall of sediment, they leap into the air. Catching flying fish is difficult. But the dolphins persist, repeating the strategy until they are satisfied. In places where commercial fishing is restricted, food remains abundant. And the dolphins thrive. Beyond feeding wildlife, seagrass performs a quieter role. Its roots bind sediment. They stabilize the seabed, and they clear the water above. More importantly, seagrass captures carbon, locking it into mud and roots. For years, for decades, even for centuries. In the fight against climate change, these meadows are powerful allies. If rainforests are the lungs of the land, seagrass is one of the planet's hidden carbon stores. Alongside seagrass meadows, another ecosystem takes hold. Mangrove forests. These remarkable trees grow where land meets sea. Their tangled roots form dense barriers, able to withstand daily changes in salt and water level. Mangroves are natural coastal defenses. When storms arrive, they absorb wave energy, reducing erosion, protecting shorelines. But their most important role lies beneath the surface. Mangrove roots create nurseries, safe spaces for juvenile fish. Crabs and shrimp shelter here, hidden from predators of the open sea. Life begins in the shadows of these roots. And as animals grow, they move outward, from mangroves to seagrass, from seagrass to coral reefs. This connection links coastal ecosystems into a single life support system. If one link is broken, the entire chain weakens. Farther offshore, the water becomes clearer. Light penetrates deeper, and a new structure appears. Coral reefs. They cover less than 1% of the ocean floor. Yet they support a quarter of all marine species. What makes this extraordinary is that reefs are built by animals. Tiny coral polyps, living together in vast colonies. Over time, they construct limestone frameworks, layer by layer, creating shelter, surfaces, and food for countless species. Every gap is occupied. Small fish graze on algae. Predators patrol the edges. Cleaner fish remove parasites. Each species plays a role, and together they keep the reef functioning. But for a reef to remain healthy, balance is essential. And at the top of that balance are the apex predators. On many reefs today, something is missing. Sharks. They once defined healthy reefs. But decades of overfishing have removed them from much of the ocean. When sharks disappear, the rules change. Mid-level predators increase. They consume more small fish, especially the grazers, the fish that keep algae in check. Without enough grazers, seaweed spreads, smothering coral, blocking light, weakening the reef. A reef without sharks does not collapse immediately, but it loses resilience. In the most remote places where sharks still thrive, a different scene unfolds. By day, gray reef sharks drift in the current. Cleaner fish work over their teeth and skin. At night, the hunt begins. Small fish retreat into crevices, remaining motionless. A single shark can be avoided. But when hunters work together, escape becomes unlikely. White-tip reef sharks arrive. Slim and agile, able to reach into hiding places others cannot. Fish flushed from cover meat, waiting gray reef sharks. A coordinated hunt. Silent. Efficient. Paradoxically, these predators strengthen the reef. By regulating the food web, they allow coral to thrive. A reef with sharks is more resilient, more capable of surviving disturbance. But even the healthiest reefs now face a new threat. Warming seas. There was a time when healthy coral reefs could recover from storms. There was a time when fish shoals were so dense they seemed to boil the sea. There was a time when apex predators enforced the rules of the reef. That world is fading. Not because of a single cause, but because two powerful pressures are colliding. Overfishing and a warming climate. An ecosystem can survive one shock. But when two arrive together, cracks begin to spread. On many reefs today, life still appears colorful. Fish are still present. Corals still stand. Sunlight still filters through clear water. But something vital is gone. Sharks. Across much of the world, sharks have been hunted relentlessly. Their fins became valuable commodities. And with industrial-scale fishing, populations collapsed. When sharks vanish, the balance shifts. Mid-level predators increase in number. They feed heavily on smaller fish, especially on grazing fish, the gardeners of the reef. Without enough grazers, algae spreads rapidly. It blankets coral surfaces, competing for light and space. The reef does not fail overnight, but it loses its ability to recover. And when the next disturbance arrives, it breaks. Even where sharks remain, reefs now face a greater threat. Rising ocean temperatures. Corals may look like stone, but they are alive. Within their tissues live microscopic algae. These tiny partners give coral its color and most of its energy. When water temperatures rise just 1 or 2 degrees above normal, the partnership fails. Corals become stressed, and they expel their algae. The reef turns white. Bleaching can appear hauntingly beautiful, but it is a sign of starvation. Without their algae, corals lose their main source of food. If high temperatures persist for weeks, corals begin to die. The skeletons remain, but the city goes dark. Fish lose shelter. Invertebrates lose refuge. And species that depend on the reef must leave or perish. There is another force at work, less visible, but equally destructive. Carbon dioxide does not only warm the planet, it also dissolves into the ocean. As CO2 mixes with seawater, the ocean becomes more acidic. For organisms that build shells or skeletons from calcium carbonate, this is dangerous. Corals rely on this material to grow their reefs. In more acidic water, building becomes harder. Like constructing a house while the foundation dissolves. Shellfish struggle. Plankton with mineral shells weaken. And the base of the food web begins to erode. Reefs are trapped between two pressures. Heat causes bleaching. Acidity prevents recovery. One shock damages the reef. The other makes rebuilding nearly impossible. In recent years, bleaching events have struck entire regions at once. hundreds of kilometers of reef turning pale in a single season. Months later, many corals are dead. Without living coral, the reef's structure begins to crumble. Waves erode the skeleton. Boring organisms weaken it further. Shelters disappear. Complexity vanishes. And when the reef falls, the coastline becomes more vulnerable. Storm waves hit with greater force. Fish populations decline. Tourism suffers. And coastal communities lose protection and food. This is no longer a distant problem. It is a breakdown of systems humans depend on. The crisis is not limited to reefs. It strikes at the very foundation of coastal seas. Seasonal fish gatherings are among the greatest biological events on Earth, and among the most vulnerable. In cooler waters, entire ecosystems converge around spawning fish. Herring rise from the depths, moving into shallow water to breed. Predators arrive from every direction. Sea lions drive the fish into tight balls. Eagles gather along the shore. And whales return from distant migrations, hungry after months without food. This is a feast linking ocean and sky. But modern fishing can intercept these events. Catching fish at their most concentrated. Removing breeding adults before the next generation forms. Year by year, the shoals shrink, until absence becomes the new normal. When fish decline, the ocean doesn't remain empty. Something else moves in. In many coastal waters, jellyfish are increasing. They drift in vast swarms. Ethereal. Beautiful. But jellyfish cannot replace fish. Most predators cannot feed on them. And jellyfish consume fish eggs and larvae. As jellyfish increase, recovery becomes harder. The system locks into a low productivity state. An ocean may look full, but it is poorer, less nourishing, less resilient. Leaving the tropics, the ocean changes character. The water grows colder. Winds strengthen. Storms become frequent. But in these harsher conditions, the sea can be extraordinarily productive. Powerful waves and currents pull nutrients up from the depths. And during long summer days, sunlight lingers. Together, these forces create some of the richest waters on Earth. From above, golden streaks appear on the ocean's surface. Not reflections. but forests. Kelp forests. Beneath the surface lies a vertical world. Giant kelp anchors itself to rock below and rises toward the light. Some kelp grows more than 50 meters tall. Air-filled floats lift its fronds upward, creating a dense underwater canopy. Like a rainforest, the kelp forest has layers. A ceiling of leaves, columns of swaying stems, and a shaded forest floor. Fish shelter among the fronds. Predators weave between the stalks. Invertebrates cling to the rocks below. Everything here depends on structure, and kelp provides it. But this forest has a vulnerability. It can be destroyed from the bottom up. Sea urchins move slowly. They do not chase. They graze. They cling to kelp stems and feed steadily. A healthy kelp forest can withstand some grazing. But when urchin numbers explode, kelp cannot keep up. The forest thins. The canopy opens. Shelter disappears. Eventually, the forest collapses into an urchin barren. A seafloor covered in spines, with little space for other life. The ecosystem still contains animals, but it has lost its function and its productivity. Floating on the surface, sea otters appear relaxed, wrapped in kelp, drifting with the swell. But their survival depends on constant effort. Sea otters live in cold water. And unlike most marine mammals, they rely on fur, not blubber, for warmth. Their fur is the densest of any animal, and it must be meticulously maintained. Otters groom constantly, blowing air into their coats, trapping insulating bubbles against their skin. To fuel this lifestyle, they must eat a great deal, up to 1/4 of their body weight each day. Their favorite prey is the sea urchin. An otter dives, selects an urchin, returns to the surface, and uses a stone as a tool. The shell breaks, and the soft interior is consumed. In doing so, the otter performs a crucial role. By controlling urchin numbers, it protects the kelp forest. The otter is a keystone species. Remove it, and the system unravels. Otters are not alone. In kelp forests, another species helps keep balance. Sheephead wrassa. They possess powerful jaws and teeth capable of crushing urchins. Smaller urchins are easily handled. Larger ones present a challenge. The fish must approach carefully. Avoid the spines and flip the urchin to expose its soft underside. Only the largest wrasse can manage this. But when they do, the forest benefits. Together, otters and fish form a layered defense. A system that works best when all players remain. Not all kelp forests look the same. Inside marine protected areas, communities are often intact. Otters thrive. Large fish survive long enough to reproduce. And kelp forests persist. Just beyond the boundaries, the story can change abruptly. When fishing pressure removes key species, control weakens. Urchin numbers rise, and kelp disappears. Sometimes the contrast is visible from the air. Dense forests on one side, bare rock on the other. Separated not by nature, but by human choice. This difference carries a powerful message. Nature does not simply need to be left alone. It needs complete systems to function. If we looked only at declining numbers, it would be easy to believe recovery is impossible. But the ocean does not only know how to lose, it also knows how to return, often faster than we expect, when pressure is removed in the right way. Around the world, a few places have tried something simple. They stopped. They protected. And they allowed nature to repair itself. What followed was not theory. It was evidence. Along the Pacific coast of South America lies one of the driest places on Earth. The Atacama Desert. On land, life struggles to survive. Rain is almost unknown. Vegetation is sparse. But offshore, the ocean tells a different story. Cold, nutrient-rich currents rise from the depths. Plankton blooms. And the food web explodes into life. For centuries, this coast supported immense seabird colonies. Millions of birds nested on cliffs and islands, all dependent on one small fish: anchovies. These tiny fish once arrived in numbers so vast they sustained an entire ecosystem. Seabirds, sea lions, and coastal communities. Then industrial fishing intensified. Anchovies were removed faster than they could reproduce. And the system collapsed. As fish disappeared, seabirds vanished. Colonies fell silent. Cliffs emptied. But here, a crucial decision was made in time. Fishing limits were introduced. Seasons were regulated. Extraction was controlled. And when pressure eased, the ocean responded. Anchovy populations began to recover. Not overnight, but steadily. Soon, the birds returned. Each morning, vast colonies lift from the cliffs. it can take over an hour for the sky to clear. Guanay cormorants assemble by the millions. Inca terns glide low over the waves. Peruvian boobies plunge from great heights. Pelicans skim the surface. Below them, sea lions are often the first to arrive, driving fish upward, signaling abundance. A single food source once again sustains an entire community. The lesson of Atacama is simple. Protect the foundation, and the system rebuilds itself. Half a world away, another recovery is unfolding. In Southeast Asia, in the heart of the Coral Triangle. Raja Ampat. These islands sit among the most biodiverse seas on Earth. Clear lagoons, dense reefs, strong currents rich with life. But even here, unregulated fishing left scars. Large fish declined. Sharks disappeared. Reefs lost their balance. In some lagoons, shark fishing camps once stood. Symbols of a time when apex predators were removed without restraint. Then, the approach changed. Large areas of ocean were fully protected, not partially restricted, but truly left alone. Almost immediately, the signs appeared. Young sharks began to gather in shallow lagoons. Places once used for hunting became nurseries. Over time, the numbers grew. Large fish returned. Sea turtles, once hunted, now graze seagrass in peace. As sharks re-established themselves, reef balance improved. Mid-level predators were kept in check. Grazing fish flourished. And reefs became more resilient to bleaching events. Then the giants returned. Oceanic manta rays, with wingspans reaching 7 meters. Most of their lives are spent roaming the open ocean. But here they return to safe waters, to cleaning stations. Small fish work over their bodies, removing parasites, while mantas glide slowly through the water. When manta rays return, it is a signal that the system is stable enough to support them. In Raja Ampat, biodiversity is not merely holding steady. In some areas, it is increasing. A rare outcome in the modern ocean. Marine protection is often seen as a loss, a restriction, a sacrifice. But where protection is done properly, a powerful effect appears. Spillover. Inside protected areas, fish live longer. They grow larger. And they reproduce more successfully. Larvae drift beyond reserve boundaries. Adult fish cross invisible lines. And nearby waters become richer. Protected areas act as engines of renewal, supplying surrounding seas with life. For local fishers, the change is tangible. They travel shorter distances, catch more fish, and spend less effort doing so. Protection, when done right, does not exclude people. It secures their future. But this only works if protection is real. Not lines on a map. Not sanctuaries in name only. Effective reserves require enforcement. Clear boundaries. And time. We have seen the ocean at its most alive. Shallow seas where sunlight fuels abundance. Seagrass storing carbon. Mangroves raising the young. Coral reefs functioning as living cities. And sharks maintaining balance at the top. We have also seen the strain. Too much taken, too quickly. Sharks removed. Reefs weakened. Waters warming. Recovery slowed. Systems unraveling. And yet, we have seen recovery. Not as theory, but as reality. When pressure is lifted, nature responds. When protection is strong, life returns. When ecosystems are whole, balance reappears. The question is no longer whether the ocean can recover. It is whether we allow it to. Coastal seas feed the planet. They raise young fish, protect shorelines, and support people. They are also the most pressured waters on Earth. If they fail, the rest follows. Recovery follows clear rules. Protection must be real. Large enough to function. And long enough to last. Done properly, protection creates spillover. Fish grow larger. Reproduce more. And life spreads outward. Conservation does not close the ocean. It keeps it productive. Isolated reserves are not enough. What is needed is a connected network. Protecting roughly 1/3 of coastal seas can keep the ocean capable of sustaining life. Technology helps us see the problem. Action solves it. Before fish stocks collapse. Before reefs bleach again. Before loss becomes normal. Every day, a choice is made in how we fish, in what we protect, in how we value the sea. Tomorrow, the ocean may look calm. But calm is not a promise. If we give the ocean space to breathe, it will respond. With fish returning. With reefs recovering. With coasts growing resilient again. Because the shallow edge of the sea is where life meets the future.